It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. I've been in Texas 3 times in the last 2 months, so I don't know. I'm doing a grand tour. I did Houston, did Austin, now I'm in San Antonio, so I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be. I'm coming back to Houston at the end of this month. It's a pleasure to be back, pleasure to talk to state and public librarians in the great state of Texas. I have a real passion for librarians and have been actually involved with talking about technology and librarians and library access for a number of years. How many of you all have ever gone to a model home, toured a model home? Okay. Model homes are great. They present a vision of what you wish your home would look like. They never do it ultimately at the end because they're staged, but it's a great vision for the builder, a vision for you, but it's also places what could be in your future right out in front of you. And it's like a new car smell. It makes you kind of salivate as you walk through the model home. And what we have today is a discussion about model homes. We're going to talk about success stories. We're going to celebrate some success. We're going to recognize some innovations with partnerships and best practices. And what you'll find is that this discussion is really about people and relationships. And that's what I've learned in working with chief information officers and really having a career in technology. I worked on some model home projects. I worked on what was the first statewide outsourcing of the entire network back in Kentucky in 1994. We took a bold move and outsourced the entire statewide network to private providers under contract. And one of the first communities of interest that I went to talk to were the public libraries, to talk about how they could take advantage of very low rates for high-speed access. And that was very important to us to get them on board, to get community leaders on board. And that was a model home. And in fact, a couple of years after we did that, I was invited to come to Texas to speak to the Texas Internet Providers Association. I was thrilled to do that. They said they would meet me in Austin. I would fly into Austin, and we would go do this statewide meeting of all these internet service providers. And so I was thrilled to do that. I landed in the Austin airport, was picked up. I was told that we're going to go to LaGrange. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. LaGrange, I just found out when I was there, it was in Fayette County. I'm from Fayette County, Kentucky. I thought that was somewhat coincidental. I didn't realize how far it was and the fact that it was 103 degrees when I got off the plane. In a pickup truck with no AC. So it was kind of interesting. So the only thing I knew about LaGrange was ZZ Top. I mean, that was LaGrange, right? And so I showed up in LaGrange. They were very welcome. Hospital gave me a fine time, fed me a big Texas steak. And the next day I went to give my presentation at the local high school gymnasium. So it was kind of interesting, 350 people on wooden bleachers having to listen to me talk about the Kentucky Information Highway. But I talked about connecting libraries. I think that was 1996 or 97. So that was my first real effort to speak to Texans about connectivity. So I'm back. I survived that and actually got invited back 10 years later. So pleasure to be here. And again, we're going to talk about this. And I think it's important to talk about model homes and success. And one of the things that struck me during the many interesting slides that Stephen has up was one he had called Content Isn't King, Context is King. I'm not going to rebut him or debate him, but we talk about collaboration is king. In my world, collaboration is king. And CIOs have been dealing with trying to collaborate for several years, and what they've done is had to elevate their game. Because in my venue of state government, unlike state librarians who have long tenure, CIO really means career is over. It's 33 months. It's 33 months, and that's it. They're out the door. So we have to move them in fast. And what they talk about is the skill sets, and what you're going to hear is the skill sets of communication, negotiation, political persuasion. These are all the elements of what we're going to talk about today with these fine panelists about their success stories. And so again, it's about collaboration, it's about success. And broadband just becomes part of the great recipe. So as you look at those ingredients for success, broadband is just a piece of that recipe, but a lot of it has to do with the collaboration and partnerships that they've established. So with that, We're going to provide some great background information for a few minutes from each of the panelists, and we're going to have some questions. We're going to leave some time at the end for questions from the audience. We'll have roving microphones out there, and so please wait for those mics to get to you before you ask your question. But what I'd like to do is, again, kick it off with a discussion about what's going on in Houston with the library, with digital inclusion, and I'll turn it over to Rhea and Nicole, and I believe we have some slides.